I want to talk a little bit about making your personal life better for yourself so that existence can be easier. Less pain, less trauma, less bullshit in your life in general. Really, it's not complicated. It's an awful lot of work, but it's really very simple and yet not easy at the same time, because it can be very painful to look within yourself and start digging up the bullshit baggage that you've been carrying unconsciously. All those programs that have kept you trapped into your cycles. The easiest place to start, in my personal opinion, and for me, where I started, we're not all the same. There could be people out there that have done this or something like it a completely different way. I don't know. I don't give a shit. I'm talking about what I do and what I did. The first thing is to quiet the mind. Number one, forget about everything else in your life and divert all your attention, focus, and spare time to learning how to stop the thoughts that are moving through your mind that you do not have control of. This is the absolute key to starting to do this. Now, I'm not trying to tell you, to jump into some new age bullshit like that. This has nothing to do with that. I'm not calling this path spiritual or religious or nothing. I abide by no belief structure on this planet Earth. I simply take what works for me in my life and what gives me results. Quick results. Not to say that this shit is quick, but the quicker path, even though it's still gonna take lots of time. So learning to control your thoughts, learning to stop thoughts completely, in my opinion, is the door that opens the gateway to the rest of self-gnosis and self-growth. You can try all kinds of shit, and unless you've learned that first number one skill, it just ain't gonna happen. And with that, you gotta experiment. I can't just give you an easy pill here. For myself, I had started meditation. The conventional legs crossed and, that whole deal, which for me, I didn't like it. I hated it, and it did not work. Not to say that it doesn't work for other people. Again, for me, though, it did not frickin' work. So I scrapped that shit. After that, I just started, using things like I would lay in bed with headphones on and use binaural beats. And for me, that started to get me to be able to quiet the mind. I'll never forget the day when I first came out of a meditation and I recognized the space of a quiet mind. Up until that point, I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't know the first thing about it. But that day when I finally understood what a quiet mind is, what it feels like, and how it is in my mind, I was floored. So I continued to use binaural beats, and that is something I like, and hey, from time to time I still even use them now. After that, a few years later, I ran across somebody, Wim Hof breathing technique. And I had did a bit of research into his stuff. I particularly wasn't into his program, which I think he's doing a good thing. Frankly, if you do what he says, I think that you will definitely learn the space of a quiet mind. Nonetheless, the whole process that he goes through wasn't necessarily from me. So I took what I liked from his stuff and used that. And that was the basic breathing technique. Really, that was a life changer for me. At this point, I already knew the space of a quiet mind, but this just deepened my meditative states. And when I would meditate with this breathing technique, it made no difference if I was laying in bed, if my legs were crossed. Hell, if I was driving a vehicle on the way to work, If I was at work working, I could literally use that technique and meditate anywhere at any given moment. And what this did for me is I started to have an increased awareness of what this space of no thought within the mind was like. And it would, all of a sudden, I could hold it longer and longer. Next thing you know, it just really is a part of what I do every day. It's not even anything special to me anymore. It's just something that I'm in that mind space a good percentage of the day. Well, sometimes I slip out of it or whatever. By no means have I mastered this. But long story short, I was able to hold a present moment mind through most of every single day after day after day. And I noticed a few things after doing this. My quality of life within myself was flourishing. You know, at one point I had bad arthritis in my one foot. Every morning it was paining me and hurting. You know, if I sat down for coffee and quit moving and got up after, bang, it was hurting again. I also was getting gout very frequently, and that shit is not fun, man. Shit'll drop you on your ass. Nevertheless, since I did those techniques, I might get a little bit of an arthritis attack once in a while here, there, but it is nothing like it used to be. It's completely manageable, and often many months go by before I even have any arthritis issues at all. Sometimes a full year has went past with zero issues. As far as the gout's concerned, I haven't had it since. I had one little spot years back that it was creeping up on me, but honestly, it's been a few years since I've had gout. And I mean, there was a point where I was getting that shit constantly, once, twice a month, relentlessly, or every 2 months, whatever. But it was happening all the time. After I started doing that breathing technique, that ended all that shit. So I had gained a few skills here. I was able to hold present moment thought, and I also was healing myself. Well, let's just call it for what it is. I mean, when I went and got my x-rays and shit done at the hospital to find out I had gout and arthritis and this stuff, the doctor basically told me, in my words, of course, you know, buckle down, man. Here's a bottle of painkillers. These things are nasty. This is it. It only gets worse from here. It's not going to get better. And you know, at that time, it was pretty devastating. Nevertheless, I healed myself from doing these techniques. Now, I think I'm just going to leave it here at that today. Number one, like I said, let's do a quick summary. In order to gain... wrong word. In order to get some... totally fucking wrong. Jesus Christ. In order to get some balance and peace in your life, that's what I'm trying to say. Number one is to learn to stop the thoughts through your mind. Period. The end. Don't waste your fucking time. You know, you'll go out there and there's videos on how to activate the fucking pineal gland and all this fucking shit. And you know what? When you start to look in and research that stuff to better yourself, if you're not careful, you will run yourself in a big fucking circle. And all you will be doing is simply watching what other people doing. You need to take fucking action. Keep it simple. Find what works for you and do it relentlessly. If it doesn't work, fucking throw it out and try something else, right? I'm sure there's many people out there that are far beyond me in meditation, and they use probably don't even look at breathing techniques. I don't know. I'm just saying. There's infinite amount of ways to get into no thought thinking. I'm just saying what worked for me. All right. Have a great day.